The first step in creating a starter takes a bit of time. If you don't have a starter already, then it might take you a couple of weeks before you have a working starter. But assuming you do have one, and if you don't, I can give you some to start you off. But what you will need is unbleached flour. That's all-purpose flour. You'll need a digital scale, something like this. Very important to have exact measurements. You'll have to have some water heated at approximately 90 degrees. I'll tell you the measurements after. And you'll need, in this case, I'm using 165 grams of flour to start off feeding my starter, which I already have. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll show you how that goes. This is my starter from July 6th. I had it stored in the refrigerator. I poured out most of it, and I left 165 grams in the container. It's not that much in there, just. So I'm going to put it on the scale, and I have to subtract the weight of the container. So it's 198 or 199. Take away the container is 33. So it's 165 grams of flour and 165 grams of water that I'm going to put in. So I'll put in the flour first. And always hit 0. Set your scale to 0. And that's 29.56. I got a 165, so be here for a minute. Okay. One, 138. I get up there. 160. 167. I take it out. Okay, 165. Now I preheated the water, and I make extra water. I don't go by the measurement. I go by the weight. So now I'm going to put 165 grams of water in here, and I hit this to reset. And I'm now adding 149, 156, 165. Okay. So I now have 165 grams of water. And now I'm just going to stir this until it gets pasty, usually about 30 seconds. Well, no, a little bit longer, maybe a minute or two. Just keep going until it gets everything mixed together nicely. Makes it very pasty. Okay, I'll come back to it later. 2 important items that you must have. You need a thermometer that lets you measure the water up to the 90 degrees, plus or minus a couple of degrees. And you definitely need a scale. Other than that, a pen, a scoop of some sort, and you're ready to make bread. And it really is quite easy. We'll get to that later. The leaven has now been working for 3.5 hours approximately. And let me show you how it's improved. It is now just about tripled, and it is now ready for baking. Now, I'm not going to bake today, but I might bake tomorrow, and I might just freshen it up. But everything is done, as my wife told me to remind you, in grams. So don't use ounces. Everything is in grams. Makes it more accurate. The next image that you see will be me mixing up the 800 grams of all-purpose flour along with 10 grams of salt and 320 grams of starter and 460 grams of cold water, not warm. I'll be mixing it up until I get a nice, thoroughly mixed product take a look. So I've added in my water and I started mixing it. And at this point, you need 2 other items. This is very handy, a little scraper. And this, I won't be using this yet, but later on, when I have the boule, I might want to cut it in half, and this is what you generally use. You don't tear it apart because you could damage the threads that are making up the boule. So I'm going to start mixing this, and this gets a little messy, but I love it. Get right in with your fingers and your hands. Just get in and start mixing it. At the beginning, it's really gooky. And I may not be able to turn off the camera because my hands will be full of this. But after about 4 or 5 minutes of this, it starts to come together in a boule, in a nice ball. Now, if you don't like getting your hands messy, you can use a mixer. I have a mixer, but I never, ever used it. I kind of like the hands-on feeling. But for those who don't want to get their fingers and hands all sticky and gooey, to me, this is part of the fun of making the bread. Keep doing this till it starts coming together. This one is a little bit stickier than normal, but sometimes it's sticky. It might be because of the weather. It's kind of warm today, so things are a little bit stickier, but it's coming together. As soon as I get it together enough, I'll take it out of the bowl, and I have a nice granite counter that I work on. We didn't buy this counter for that purpose, but it turned out it's perfect for making bread. All right, so now it's come together quite a bit. I'm going to take it out, put it on the table, right? And this is where the little scoop comes in, because I have a lot of flour still in here. So scrape it all out of the bowl. Get it onto the bowl. This on the side. And now start mixing it over. And you'll see how this comes together. Just keep folding it. Folding it. It's now 10 after 4. I started this put the water in at 4 o'clock. So, I don't know if you can see how this is now coming together. And then I just start pulling it off my hands. And in a little while, I'll just wash my hands after I get most of it off. I washed my hands before I did it too, so you know. Okay, see, it's coming together now as a So now this is like 3 minutes of doing this. Now I'm gonna see if I can turn off the video for the moment. Let's see what I can use. Maybe I can turn it off using this. No, it doesn't let me do it. All right. Clean my finger as well as I can and say stop. So I've washed my hands a bit. Still a little damp, but that's okay. It's only a quarter after, and you can see how it's now come together. Look at that. See? Do it a few more times, and then there's a procedure that they call a window test, so you know when it's done. Now, I think it's still a little early, but you see how nice this is now? See? You don't have to be gentle with it. I just do this until I feel it's right. Usually, I used to count how many times I did this. So usually like 120 of these. And I think I'm there now. So now we do the window test. This is to find out if it's done enough. This is where this comes in handy. You cut off a section of it. And you kind of spread it out like this until you kind of can see through the dough. And if it stays kind of closed, doesn't fracture open, usually they say you hold it to the window, but I'll hold it up to you. And this looks pretty good. I would say, yep. Yeah, it's done. It didn't break open and start to shred like inside. So that's done. So now I'm just going to put it back, give it a few more of these. And from this, usually I can make one large bread or two small ones. I think I'll make two small ones from this, but now's not the time to divide it. Okay, this is it. I'm going to put it back in the bowl where I had it mixed up. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit still dirty. I just put some flour in there so it doesn't stick to it. Okay, and now I will put it in this bowl back here, and I will cover it with a cloth. And for 3 hours it stays. So it's going to stay here till 7:15. And at 7:15, I'll show you what the next step is. Okay. Now it's pretty important that you keep your leaven alive. Now, since I used up most of it, there's only a little bit left. I measured it, and it's approximately 135 grams left in here. So I will now feed it and cover it and let it build up again. If you don't do it right after you've baked, you could lose the leaven. So I'm going to, it's 135, set this to 0, and I'm going to put in 135 of flour, all-purpose flour. Not bread flour, by the way. Don't use bread flour. Bread flour has yeast in it. You don't need yeast because you're making the actual yeast when you make an active starter. 119, 139, a little more, so I got to go back. 136, 135. Okay, exactly 135. And my water is a little bit warmer than normal. It's 100 degrees. I'm going to put a little cold water in. Do it in the microwave. Give it a shot of cold water. I should bring that down to 95. It's perfect. So now I'll measure in how much? 135. 90, 100, 112, 115, 120, 135. So now I have 135 in here. So I have to turn it off, actually. I don't need it anymore. And now just stir this up. Get it all, whatever is on the edges, it likes the old stuff. That helps it work. Don't think you have to clean this out. They say as long as it didn't get too old where you couldn't use it, but you never have to clean this out. Just keep using what's in there. The starter, what was left over, helps the new stuff. I've never had a problem. Okay, it's pretty much mixed up. And again, I'll mark it with a little piece of tape. I'll mark where I'm at. Hard to see it, but it's right about here. And in about 3 hours, it's gonna top up, as it's been doing for years. And that's it until 3 hours from now, when we work that bread. Well, not the bread, the bowl. So now for the big reveal. The bread is rested, or the bowl has rested for about 3 hours. And this is what it looks like now. Right? It's risen nicely, it looks good. And I'm going to remove it from the bowl. Let me get my tools that I forgot to bring over. And I just loosen it around. And get it out onto the counter. And now I'm just going to work it a little bit. Not too much. But see how nice it is? Just going to do a couple of turns with it. See if I can get this a little, so you can see it a little better. Don't want to worry it too much. Just a few folds. Now on the internet, they have all different ways to fold it. Tell you the truth, I just fold it. With some bubbles, you get the bubbles out. You're going to need something to put in. See this bubble on here? If you can see it, I just broke it. But that's good if you have bubbles. That means it's working, right? Okay. So now, just going to tighten it up a little bit. And I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to make 2 loaves. You will need a couple of bannetons. That's these bowls. I have three of them. One is for larger breads. If I want to do, this is 1 bread, but I'm going to do it as 2 breads. So I'm using the smaller ones. Have a little flour inside so that it doesn't stick. And now I'll just work this one. Put a little flour in my hands. Okay, get a little round ball out of it. See, like that. I don't know if it's very clear, but and I put it in the banneton. Same thing with the other one. A little powder, a little flour on it. Some bubbles on this one too. I don't know if you can see that. And that goes in the banneton. And I'll cover them with a damp towel and put them in the refrigerator until tomorrow at about 7:30. Not longer than that. I don't want to overproof them. So now it's going to be proofed. And that'll be with a damp towel until tomorrow evening. Now this is the leaven that I did a few hours ago where I refed it. Remember, it was just 135 left. It is now almost up to the top. It will probably grow a little more, because that hasn't been that long, or 3.5 hours. But it's a really active leaven. This is the second bread that I made from yesterday, and I'm going to go on the slicer with it now. And that's it. You now have bread for about a week or two.